Hello, Chip GT here, and in this video I'm going to discuss the things that you need to know when getting started with pinball in VR. I'm going to discuss the hardware requirements, headset selection, the different link types, the software that you're going to need, and walk you through getting your first table up and running in your VR headset. So without any further delay, get ready for a long play, let's coin in and push that start button. If you are new to VR or are considering it for the first time, or you're having a hard time finding the resources to get everything set up and working, this video will aid you. The best place to begin is to understand the requirements needed to make Pinball VR work. This truly begins with knowing that the key piece of software is Steam, and more specifically, the Steam VR application. This is the primary interface between VPX VR, Hopper VR, and your headset. If you're running Pinball FX2 or Pinball FX3, you may already be familiar with Steam. There's my Steam library. But if you're not, then you need to click on the link in the description, download and install Steam, and then once you have installed it and created an account, you want to sign in and go to the store, and very simply in this search box, you're going to type in Steam VR. It'll pop up the first thing there. There you go. And you'll scroll down here and you'll install Steam VR right here. The key piece here is knowing that you need to have a system that is better than the recommended settings for this. And the reason for that is because you're going to be running, depending on your headset that you have, multiple pieces of very power hungry applications between potentially the Oculus software, the Steam VR software, VPX, and all the other supporting software that comes with VPX. All right, so you need to have better than these recommended settings, otherwise your experience is going to be very choppy and not the best. All right, so with that, how do you go about choosing the right headset? Knowing that Steam VR is the key to making VPX VR work, you need to select a VR headset that works with Steam VR. There's a great number of headsets on the market that will work with Steam VR, and some are better than others, some are cheaper than others, and there are some things to consider when you're looking at getting a VR headset, such as the screen resolution, the lens type, if you wear glasses, and the hardware for the headset. In many reviews from IGN and other tech channels, the best all-around headset is the Quest 2 for standalone and PC VR. This is due to the low price and the fact that it is a standalone VR that can be used to run PC VR utilizing both Steam and the Oculus software. Valve and Vive only work with Steam as either a standalone or with Steam VR. There are many other considerations for the 2023 headsets supporting mixed reality, augmented reality, such as the Quest 3 and the Vive XR. It's important to understand the pixel per eye resolution, the field of view, the different lens types, and comfort when compared to the different headsets to see what works best for you, your wallet, and how you have to set up these devices. If you already have a headset, look at the tech specs and see if it will work with Steam VR. I need to give J-Pops a special shout out. He let me borrow his Quest 2 when I was testing out all the software and making sure that I could get this video for you guys. And that really pushed me to getting a Quest 3. I know that they're brand new as of this month. But prior to J-Pops letting me borrow his Quest 2, my only VR experience was an Oculus Rift customer version number 1, the very first Oculus Rift that came out. Compared to this, The Quest 2 is extremely different, and each iteration just continues to get better and better and better. At this time, the Quest 2 is 3 years old. The Quest 3 has come a long ways, higher screen resolution, mixed reality, augmented reality. The price has gone up a little bit, but when you consider the pancake lenses versus the Frenzel lenses, this technology is just incredible. The field of view is just amazing. It does do 90 hertz. It goes up to 120. That's experimental, and after a little while they'll probably unlock the experimental function. It is an LCD instead of an OLED. There is some differences between an OLED and an LCD. The OLED does better blacks and doesn't have as much bleed off, but the OLEDs are very expensive. And the two Quest options in the Vive XR, they are their own standalone VR headset. Like, you don't have to have a computer hooked up to them, but they also work with PC VR. The Valve Index is kind of older technology. It's very expensive for the whole headset. And the VR kit. When you look at all of this, you have to understand that for the tracking purposes, when you have something that's hard fixed to a PC, it has to have external base stations. Like my Rift eats up USB ports, and you may not have a whole bunch of extra USBs available to plug into your PC with all the extra peripherals that you're using for VR to begin with. So having something that tracks things from an inside out perspective and having the cameras on the outside of the headset is kind of clutch for this, and so that you don't have to have a whole bunch of extra hookups or anything else. And the nice thing with the Quest 2, the Quest 3, and the Vive XR is that you can connect them to your PC through a means of a wire or through wireless, which is a huge game changer when it comes to how many things are plugged into your computer. And all 4 of these headsets support prescription lenses that can be inserted so that you don't have to wear glasses while you wear them. But I will say that with my wife, who wears glasses, and the fact that we got the Quest 3, she said this is just infinitely more comfortable than what the Quest 2 was, because there's options now for the lenses, and you can slide the face mask away just a little bit. It's just much nicer. But when you compare a $999 VR kit and its current pixels per eye and the field of view and everything else, having something like a Quest 3 was probably better. If you have the money and you want to get the Vive XR, you're more than welcome to. But when you compare the Vive XR and its resolution to the Quest 3, the Quest 3 kind of knocks it out of the water. It's better with the field of view, and the Vive wins when it comes to the number of outside-in cameras tracking you. So there is a little bit of a trade-off. Regardless of whatever headset you go with, you really got to think about how it's going to connect and how it's going to do some of these things. And that's really the key takeaway from this. I did not have access to a Valve Index or a Vive XR because I don't know anybody who has them. They're just so overpriced when you compare it to like a Quest 2 or a Quest 3. And the Quest 2 is actually the more readily available. You can find them anywhere, kind of headsets. The Quest 3 is slowly starting to replace that as, they become more readily available in the stores. But I did not have any experience with this, so for the remainder of this video, it's going to be from the perspective of somebody who had an Oculus Rift, and I had a Quest 2 in hand, and now I have the Quest 3, and that is just the perspective I have. They by no means have supported me, sponsored me, or anything. This is all 100% my opinion. And those 3 headsets share some of the same software, and they have some of the same setup process. When you connect the Quest 2 or the Quest 3 to your PC, there are a few different ways that you can connect it. One is through wired, and the other 2 options are through wireless. I have tried 2 of the 3 different ways to do this, just based off of my own personal experience. Wired is just a little bit better, and the wireless can be a little choppy from time to time depending on your settings, but that is primarily due to the complexity of the wireless requirements for the best setup. For the best performance and communications, your Wi-Fi needs to support Wi-Fi 6 and the headset and the PC being connected to the same wireless network and be operating on 5 gigahertz. My home Wi-Fi router does Wi-Fi 6, and I normally have mine set up for an automated switching process between 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, depending on the communication speed demand for all of my household devices. When I configured mine to be 5 gigahertz exclusively, it really had a hard time balancing the load for all the other devices that are connected on my network, and with 4 kids, we normally have about 8 different devices all using the Wi-Fi network at the same time. So this resulted in a very poor VR experience for me while my kids were home. The other option is to look at a VR Wi-Fi air bridge like this one from D-Link. And what it does is it provides a dedicated link for your VR headset to connect directly to your computer. This requires your PC to be plugged into your router through the Ethernet port rather than Wi-Fi for an internet connection, because the bridge will take over your Wi-Fi, and it also does a shared connection between your Wi-Fi and your Bluetooth for your PC to connect it directly to your headset. This works pretty much exclusively for the Quest 2, the Quest 3, and the Quest Pro headsets. This solution is good if you do not have a Wi-Fi 6 router. However, it is a little costly at $94. If you don't have a Wi-Fi 6 router and want to save yourself about $80, the last option is to get a 10-foot wired USB-C to 3.2 link cable. Metal offers one for a heavy price, but you can find one on Amazon for much cheaper. The key things to look for are the cable length and the data transfer rate. You want to get one that can support 2 to 5 gigabytes per second transfer rate for your VR connection. If you don't have that, your connection will not be very good and you will have a lot of choppiness and it just will look terrible. For your headset, if you have one that you plug into your computer will charge it, but it will take forever. These headsets do not get enough juice from your PC to actually power it and keep it charged at the same time. So slowly over time, that battery is going to drain down and it will die eventually. If you want to prevent that and get a cable that will allow you to charge and use it at the same time, then I recommend this Inu link cable. It's a 16-foot cable. It does 5 gigabytes per second transfer rate, but what it allows you to do is it allows you to inject power from your wall outlet using your headset's actual charging cable, which is clutch for getting your headset to work for as long as you possibly can. Once you have the headset and your link connection that you plan to go with, it's time to start looking at the software. If you are going to use the Quest, you first need to download and install the Oculus application that is for the Quest. And I have all the links for you down in the description. All you have to do is come here, you click here, you download and you install it, and you just walk through the setup process. And it'll eventually ask you for what type of headset you purchased. You just simply select it and it'll prompt you with what connection type you plan to use and give you some instructions. And once there, you go into the headset. Okay, so once you're in your main menu, and you select the main menu by selecting the Meta button on your right controller. So you just like that. You're going to click down here in the lower left menu button and click on Quest Link. If you do not see Quest Link, you're going to come up here to the settings, then you're going to go to System, Quest Link, and you want to verify that Quest Link is enabled. Once you enable this, on the main menu down here, you will see Quest Link. Alright, then you're going to click on Quest Link, and for the Wi-Fi connection, we want to make sure AirLink is turned on. The first time you do this, it might take a few minutes for it to see your PC, and it's critical that you have your Quest and your PC on the same Wi-Fi network. Then it'll pop up, and you're going to click it, and it will say pair right here. And what will happen is in the Oculus app on your PC, it'll give you a pairing code, and then you'll come over here, and you'll click pair, and then it'll say, okay, is this the right code? You hit click pair. And then you'll be able to click on your PC and hit launch. There we go. Now we are in the Oculus app, and we want to tweak a Wi-Fi setting real quick. or an AirLink setting. So we're going to click on AirLink, and you want to make sure that it is set to dynamic and you have the dynamic all the way up to its maximum setting. You want to avoid fixed, because fixed can create some choppy visuals in your headset. You want it to be dynamic. You want to set dynamic to its highest possible setting, and that's it. That's all you've got to do. From there, you're just going to click on library, and if you have Steam VR installed or you have launched Steam VR in the past, all you got to do is click Steam VR. And for a wired connection, you want to plug the USB-C into the headset first, then plug the other end into your PC. Put the headset on and open the menu by clicking the Meta button on the right controller. You want to click on the lower left-hand options and then click on Quest Link. And you should now see your PC. You simply click on it and then click Connect. It may ask you to redo your Guardian system, and do so if you need to. It just depends on your setup and where you're at. And then it will load right into the Oculus PC VR software on the headset. From there, you need to take the headset off and look at the Oculus app. It is important to note whatever the settings that you have in the Oculus software are what Steam VR uses for its settings. You cannot change the settings in Steam VR. They have to be set in the Oculus software. So before you launch Steam VR, you need to make sure that these settings are set the way you want, the refresh rate, and so on. You should also test your USB connection. USB 3.0, 3.1, and 3.2 look exactly the same, but their speeds are a little bit different. USB 3.0 uses 5 gigabytes per second, 3.1 uses 10 gigabytes per second, and 3.2 uses 20 gigabytes per second. However, USB 3.2 ports are specifically designed to work with USB-C cables and connections for other devices. However, it can be very difficult to determine a 3.0 port from a 3.2 port just by looking at it. They are almost always blue. If you're not connected to the USB 3.2 port, you're only going to get 2.5 gigabytes per second on the cable. The best way to figure this out is to test your open ports on your PC for the fastest speed by plugging in the cord into each USB and having the Oculus software test which one has the fastest speed. Typically, the fastest ports are found on the back side of the computer and are directly connected to the motherboard, not the top or the front. All right, so next we need to take the headset off and set it aside. And if you haven't already, you want to go to the Steam webpage and download Steam. Then you're going to come over here onto the Steam application and you're going to click on Store. And you're going to do a search for Steam VR. Should be one of the first thing that pops up. And you'll scroll down a little bit, and instead of saying play now, it'll say install. You're going to install that. Once you have it installed, you should be able to go back over to your library, and then in this drop down tool, you'll be able to select tools and find Steam VR, and you want to run it. All right. With the headset plugged in and, Oculus running and everything, Steam VR gets all of its settings from Oculus, like I mentioned before. So if you notice here, I have 90 hertz refresh rate and the screen resolution there. And if we come over here, you'll see in Steam VR, I have a little window down here at the bottom letting me know that Steam VR is up. And there's 3 lines. You click on the 3 lines and you go to settings. That'll open up this new window, and if you don't see some of these settings, go from hide to show down here in the lower left, and you want to go to OpenXR, and you want to make sure that OpenXR runtime is set to Steam VR. If it is not set to this, and Oculus is set as your OpenXR runtime, you will not get VPX VR to work right for you. If you don't have it set, if it says Oculus here, there'll be another button here that you can click, and it'll say set Steam VR as active. All right, so just to verify that Steam grabbed everything correctly, you can click on video, and there's 90 hertz, 90 hertz. And now we are ready. So let's go ahead. I'm going to close this, but I'm going to leave this up and running because the headset is still connected. So now we want to make sure that VPX works, and you want to go to, if you haven't done this already, go to the Baller Installer webpage, read up on how to install VPX and the Baller Installer software suite. If you use DOF links, make sure you have DOF links set up. Make sure you follow this install guide really well, because we're going to be running the VR software in the version 10.8, which uses 64-bit. We're not going to use the 32-bit version. All right. Once you have everything installed, you want to make sure that your table will run. So if you are at a point where your tables run and they work fine and you're just trying to figure out VR, that's where you need to be. Then what you want to do is you want to make a backup copy of your Visual Pinball folder somewhere like your desktop, because we're going to be making some changes to this folder to accommodate the VR version of VPX. Then you want to go to the Visual Pinball X webpage, and we are going to download beta number 5. All right. This is not a full release yet. It is pre-release. If you're watching this and it's a year from now, there may be another version that's out. Make sure you have whatever the latest and greatest says for the Baller Installer software. If you want to use the VPX VR, I'm going to use this beta version. So you're going to click here. And you have all these options. How do you know which one is the VR? Well, anything with GL behind it, that is the VR version of VPX. So this is a debug. Here's a release for the 64-bit and a release for the 32-bit. We are going to download the 64-bit. And once that is downloaded, you want to go to wherever you've downloaded to, normally your downloads. You're going to right click, go to properties, and unblock it. Okay, it's very important that you unblock it. Then we are going to pull up our folder. Here, I'll minimize some of these things so you can see it a little bit better. We are going to copy everything that is in this zip file, with the exception of the tables. There's really there's only a few things in here. We don't care about those things. We've already got them. And we are going to drag and drop that into our Visual Pinball folder where all the other versions of Pinball is. All right. You're just going to copy, drag, drop. Okay. That simple. I've already done this, so I'm not going to do it right now. But I've already copied it in there. You can see there's my VPinball X GL64, and some of the other files that are needed to make this happen are also in here. Like there's the brass files, and there's a VR file in here. Now that you've got that copied over, we're going to create a new folder. And what I think you guys should do, and this is just something that is highly recommended online, you need to separate your tables folder from your VR tables folder. And the reason for that is you may have tables in here that are already set up for VR, but if you've been playing them in a cabinet mode, or if you've been playing them in a desktop mode with one screen, there are certain settings that you have to go into the script and change to make it look better for the VR version. All right, so like I have VR Room Avatar and VR Room Monsters, but what I'm going to do is I am going to create a VR Tables folder right here, and I just called it VR Tables. And I downloaded a fresh version of VR Room Avatar. Okay, if I were to double click on this right now, it would not open it in the VR version of VPX. It'll open it up in regular VPX. You now need to go and create either a link to your desktop or wherever you keep your shortcuts, or if you want to just pin this to your taskbar, you can pin this to the taskbar, but you want to have a separate instance where you can open this up separately. So I'm just going to open it. And I'm not going to load a table just yet, because there's some settings that we need to do with the VR headset. Okay. We're going to go to preferences. We're going to go to video graphics and options, and I'm going to have mine set for the highest setting that I can go for this. All these other settings I've already pre-configured. You want to kind of match what I've got here, so that it'll work best. I know that this is a working setup. And then you're going to come down here to your VR settings, and there's some things that you might want to set in here. For example, if you want to be able to see the left eyeball, the right eyeball, not see anything on your desktop display, or if you want to see both eyes, this is the preview that you're going to see. Like when somebody else is playing it, this is what you're going to see on your main screen. All right. I always keep it for auto detect. You can change some of these settings if you want to, but I don't recommend doing it. If you're going to have colorized DMDs and putt packs, then you need to check backglass and DMD capture. You need to have those checked in order to get putt packs and the colorized DMDs to work right with your tables. All right. Some of these other settings, I mean, I don't really tweak with any of these. This is more like as soon as you get into the table, this is where the table is going to be in your VR environment. It doesn't matter where this is because unless you are going to be in a stationary position, you know this isn't going to change. I don't mess with these because the first thing I do when I go in there is push number pad 5 on my keyboard. If you don't have a number pad, you want to go ahead and set these to other settings, but you want to center the table with number pad 5, and then you can bump the table up or down with the number 8 and number 2 keys. Those are the only keys that you need to do associated with VR. You want to make sure you have those set. I'm going to launch Total Nuclear Annihilation. But before I do that, I just want to show you this purple blob. This purple blob is the no kidding Quest 3 screen resolution field of view. The screen capture software inside the Quest 3 only allows a capturing of a small little square or a small little rectangle that is almost dead center in the field of view. And I just wanted to show that the actual field of view is much bigger than this. Inside of this field of view from the Quest 3, you're going to see like a blue box or some blue lines. That is the Guardian system letting me know that I'm about to hit my desk. When I set up my Guardian, I outlined all my furniture in the room, and since I'm sitting at my desk, you're going to see this. It's a slight annoyance, but just bear with it because I don't have time to go back in and re-record all of this. All right, so I'm going to do my best to record what I'm seeing in my headset, what you're seeing of me, and then the other screen is what VPX is displaying. So we're going to go ahead and launch this, and you're probably not going to hear the audio from the game, but first let me recenter because I'm off. There we go. I did that with the number pad 5, and let's launch. Now my field of view while I'm playing this, I can almost see half of the DMD, half of the back box. Let me catch the ball real quick. So when I look down in my field of view, I can see the lockdown bar, and when I look up with my eyeballs, I can see half of the back box. Looking left and right, I can see the beer cup on the right, and I can see like the very far right hand edge of the I guess it's like a little stand here, so I can see that far right hand side of that. I can see the beer over there. I can see almost where it says nuclear when I'm looking down here, and I can see the lockdown bar. So the point of view that you're actually seeing, the screen recording doesn't do a very good job of the POV, but this just looks so incredible. Let's see if I can play incredible. Nope. And the artwork on this just looks so good. It's so sharp and crisp. Come back up here so you're not getting seasick. I'm gonna try my best to keep my head still. But you can see like the plastics on the side, the rubbers. I mean, it just looks so good. It's a totally different experience than playing on a cabinet. Actually, you have the 3D depth instead of a 2D screen. I can't lean forward too far because I'll hit my head on my monitor. But this does look good. And this headset is a 4K headset. This table is a 4K table. So one of the reasons I went with the 4K headset, or with the Quest 3 rather than the Quest 2, the Quest 2 does not support 4K, and the Quest 3 does. So everything that I'm seeing is a super sharp, super crisp image. And with the 3D effect here, it's almost better than having a 4K monitor in your cabinet. Yeah, I did terrible. That score is horrible. Okay, so I'm going to back out real quick. And now I'm going to load a different table here. Let's do... Okay, so this table does not have the VR room set up, or there are settings that I'm going to have to configure in order to make this work right in the script. But I am getting the putt pack. I do not see the alt color DMD.
The voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Their ongoing mission to explore strange new worlds. To seek out new life.
So we'll give it a play.
To boldly go.
Maybe I didn't point in enough. There you go. This table would look pretty cool with a VR room, and there might be a setting in the script I haven't looked yet. That'll be the next video when we talk about script changing and really tweaking the software. You can see the reflections on the ball from the lights, and it just looks so good. That is so cool. Yeah, that was terrible. Yeah, so not having the VR set up just kind of doesn't look all that great, but I can actually in my headset read that instruction card. It is super clear. Okay, I'm going to back out of this. And I don't want to leave a taste of a non-VR configured table for this video. Let's do Iron Maiden. It's going to take a minute to load here, or just a second. There we go. Now this is very similar to what we saw before. You're in this nice little VR room here. I don't know what a basketball is doing in here, but whatever. Nice cool beard. The artwork on the side looks great. The artwork on the front looks great. On the side looks good. And then I've got the full screen DMD, and I mean, when people do these VR rooms, they really do a good job. Well, that sucked.
Spell money to open the tomb. Mystery level 1.
And it actually, I think, you know, having the 3D effects and everything on here, I think it actually does look better than the 2D, because you can see three-dimensional light now. Oh, I totally missed that. This is a table that I've played a lot in the arcades, and I really enjoy. This is another 4K table. But I will say, you know, the trade-off for this right now for me is I don't have dock links. I don't have those extra lighting elements on there, and I kind of do miss having those lighting elements. I'm gonna try to hold my head still. And for my field of view on this one, I can see the sign to the left, almost half of it on the left side. I see the beer on the right side. I see the full DMD, but I don't see any of the back box in this position. And I also do not see the lockdown bar looking down. So it's a different field of view, different length on this table. No. I get a ball lock? Oh, I did. Dang it. Oh, so close. But I'm seeing things on this table that I never saw before when playing it in 2D. Now, I will say a table like this, I was having a hard time reading the full screen DMD in the back there. It's not nearly as crisp. This just looks so good. Oh. Oh, that wraps up this video. In the next one, we're going to talk about how to get Pinup Popper up and running and get the VR experience for Pinup Popper working right. If you learned something from this, please give me a like, please subscribe, share it out with your friends. It really does help the channel grow. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.